Hey, what's up, online community? And thanks for stopping by and checking out another segment of Straight No Chaser, where we talk sports and culture for fans, oftentimes with the fans. Now, the last couple of weeks, we've been really gaining some really good momentum because we're seeing a shift in a number of different things as it relates to social issues taking place across the country. And why not continue to have that conversation, have that dialogue? And joining me today is none other than Joshua Short. He's a member of the media. He is an anchor, a news anchor, a reporter. He's got roots here in the Chicagoland area, but now he works in Northwest Indiana. So, Straight No Chaser audience, I'd like to present to you Joshua Short. And also, I have to admit, I'm a little bit biased because Joshua was a family member, and I've seen this young man grow and evolve, both as an individual, but also a member of the media. So, Joshua, welcome to Straight No Chaser.
Hey, and let's be transparent too. You're my older cousin, so it makes sense.
Facts.
We've been wanting to do this for a long time, haven't we?
For those fans out there that are familiar with Straight No Chaser, before we get into it, grab your favorite libation, shot, cocktail, coffee. We're about to get into a Straight No Chaser. Salud.
Salud. I can't tell you what's in this, by the way.
You know what? Those who tell don't know, and those who know better not tell. So,
well said. Well said.
Conversation. So let me ask you, when you hear people, because again, one of the unique things about having this discussion with you is you're in Indiana. So while you're in is that considered Northwest Indiana where you're at, or is it just Northern Indiana?
It is technically Northern Indiana. We're one county away from what would be considered Northwest.
Okay. So you're in Northern Indiana, but as a media representative, you're in Northern Indiana. However, your reach and your scope covers Northwest Indiana, parts of Central Indiana. So you get a wide range of individuals that are part of that dialogue, whether it be following up on social media or emailing you or leaving you voicemails. How has the response been to Black Lives Matters as the organization and also as the movement? Because what I'm finding is that there are two ideologies. You have the Black Lives Matters organization and the Black Lives Matters movement. There are people that don't support the organization. It has a negative connotation attached to it, but they support the Black Lives movement, or the value of Black lives, I should say, as it relates to the human race. Have you experienced that? And if so, kind of how do you navigate? Because you're in a very difficult position because you're getting it from both sides. One side could say you're not covering it enough. Another side could say you're covering it too much.
It's a great question. So one of the stories that recently I can think of has to do with Box Booker and the alleged attempted lynching that took place in southern Indiana, which
Yes.
is, I believe, near Indy or just south Marion County, something like that. But anyways, it was in the state, and it renewed this vigor, because then you had, let's be honest, you had George Floyd, and you had the Central Park incident with the lady and the dog and the guy who was shooting. And then you had all these other, Breonna Taylor, and these other racial incidents that kind of just circled around each other. And
Yes.
so that was when it was at its intense moment. People were just chiming in and commenting and calling and leaving emails. Some of which you just don't read because it's just that blasphemous. But when it was a little bit of a pause, then there was that Vox Booker situation. Yes. And the attempted lynching. And I got a call, an email from someone who said that this is all a lie. He wants attention, blah, blah, blah. And then he turned it, and it was a personal attack, that you give these stories credibility. And I know in your meetings, you're telling your producers to put this in the show and da-da-da. And I'm like, people don't even get what we do.
Yeah.
They don't even know. And it's like, we're telling a story that everybody's talking about. Fox News is talking about it. NBC is talking about it. MS, everybody's talking about it. We're in the state of Indiana, and we're a media outlet. If we avoid the story, that's a dereliction of our duty as the media.
Yes.
So we've got to do it. But all of a sudden it gets to be turned as if it is an issue, and then they make it personal because of my color, the color of my skin. And so that's one of the things I will hear. Black Lives Matter, though, is a big issue. And you will hear people literally say to me, and I've had this conversation with someone recently over lunch about this, because he's gaining clarity, and so am I, about what all of this means. People are saying Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. And Black Lives Matter is intent on, disrupting the nation as we know it. And I said, well, it's interesting you say that. I will say, one, it's not a terrorist organization. But you said disrupting the nation as we know it. I said, well, what is the nation as we know it? They was like, well, it's pretty good. It's in good shape. You are where you are. And I'm like, I'm one person. You know, there are several people who look like me who are stuck, who can't get where I am because systemically they've been forced to stay in that corner. That's where we are as a nation. So the disruptors that you're hearing, let them scream. It's literally, and I've used this example before, sometimes because you talk about it, people will always say, when I do a Black Lives Matter story or a post on Facebook, people will automatically say, you're being a racist. And it's like, I'm not being a racist. I can't be a racist by tweeting or posting something that is against racism. How does that make sense? And I know you've seen that as well.
And so let me just say this too. The term Black Lives Matter, as it relates to what I've noticed over the past 3 months, and what I've seen with politicians is they've weaponized that term to instill fear within a certain demographic. So it's a trigger because it's been programmed over the past 3 months. So now it's a buzzword. It's a dog whistle. And it stokes a certain level of emotion. And it goes back to my comment earlier, or my statement earlier, about information over affirmation. Now it becomes affirmation over information. Now it affirms my fear that they're disrupting the status quo, or those people are doing XYZ over the information that's being disseminated or the information that's being shared. And that's the challenges I hear as it relates to Black Lives Matters, the organization, versus the value of Black lives and that they matter. And that's something that I don't know how we're going to be able, or if that will be able to be addressed moving forward, because now it's been weaponized to the point now where there is a line in the sand drawn. Either you are for Black Lives Matter or you are against Black Lives Matter. And unfortunately, it's because it has been weaponized, so to speak, through this political process. It's become politicized. It's become weaponized and politicized. So, it's there's a line in the sand. You're on one side or the other. And I don't think that it had to be that way. You could still be in support of Black Lives Matter, the organization, and still have a value. If you're not a person of color, still have a value to whatever demographic you belong to. Black Lives Mattering and valuing Black lives doesn't mean that you are devaluing others. And I think that's what is now being sometimes indirectly, but also directly put out there, that if you support Black Lives Matter, then you're devaluing the other lives. That you're saying that these lives are better. That you're saying that, they're coming for what we have. And really, it's not a matter of coming for what you have, it's wanting to be equal. And I think that's going to be the challenge over the next, if this continues, if the Black Lives Matter movement continues over the next months, years, however long, that's going to be the challenge, because now it's to the point that it's been weaponized, politicized, and a line has been drawn in the sand. What are your thoughts on that?
I 100% agree. In fact, there have been a conversation that I've had with people personally and virtually online, where people talk about how you don't hear us touting White Lives Matter, and you don't hear us touting. It's like, literally, you nailed it. It's who's in danger. We know that if there's a fire at one house, firefighters are going to attack that house, that home. And they talk about, well, what if the owner was like, well, he's not at my house? Well, because your house isn't on fire.
Correct.
And then you got the people who are so devoutly religious that always like to quote a Bible verse. They like to defend everything. And then you realize, it's like, okay, read Luke. And you may see something in there about sheep, and it may be something in there about one of them was in danger. You may want to read that. And you may want to interpret it for what it is. And that will add perspective to your misinformation campaign and your beliefs that's only founded on your ideals that's you're hoping to affirm in your own words.